World War III closed beta has been out for about 2 weeks at this point, and I have been having a lot of fun now that I can spend a little bit more time with it. With all that being said, it definitely does not come without some flaws, and I have already outlined a lot of them in my Veteran Alpha video, but I want to reiterate on a few as they still exist in the beta, on top of some additional observations and suggestions. Perhaps one of the most common complaints are the issues with the in-game sound design. There are a lot of instances where certain sounds, such as weapons, footsteps or even vehicles, are either too quiet or completely silent. Obviously, it can lead to some confusion or frustration during the gameplay. Thankfully, it has been stated that the developers are aware of this issue, and it's one of their top priorities, which is hopefully going to be addressed and resolved by the time the open beta arrives in March of the next year. Another thing that comes up quite often in the discussion are the vehicles, and the way they are balanced against the infantry. As it was the case in the alpha, the vehicles can be quite overpowered, to the point where they can take away a lot from the enjoyment of the game. It is a pretty serious problem, and I don't think it is the one that is going to be easily fixed. As you may know, most of the vehicles are earned through the strike system, which is meant to award you for team play and completing the objectives. As such, vehicles should be powerful enough that they are going to be worth investing in. But on the other hand, in the current state of the game, they can be quite oppressive, with very little that can be done to counteract them without having to constantly run with the RPG in your loadout. The RPG itself also requires around 5 rockets to take down a single tank, meaning that it usually requires at least 2 to 3 people to take on a single vehicle. That alone perhaps wouldn't be an issue if the vehicles weren't as common as they currently are. But with only 40 players on the server, having 2 to 3 armored vehicles per team can become a serious pain to deal with. In my mind, there are a couple of ways in which it could be addressed. For one, lower the amount of call-in vehicles per team to only 1 at a time, so there will be less vehicle spam and players would value them a little bit more. I think most of the vehicles should also require a little bit more strike points before they could be called in, perhaps around 1000 points more than they require now. I've also seen some people suggest that the vehicles should not allow for the third-person view, as it makes ambushing and flanking almost impossible. And I can admit that I tried to run with C4 in my loadout for a few days, and it was borderline impossible to plant and detonate it without getting gunned down. While we are on the topic of strikes, I'm not sure if I'm the only one, but I think that the shrapnel artillery could use a little bit of a buff. It is seemingly meant to be more effective against the infantry, while dealing less damage to the vehicles, but in its current state it was really rare for me to get any kills with it, even when I called it in on an open capture point that was being occupied by like 5 or 6 enemies. Right now the normal artillery is much more effective, which renders the shrapnel version basically useless and obsolete. Moving on, another issue is the one that practically everyone is aware of, and those are the server and matchmaking issues. It has been addressed in the past few weeks, and even today we've got a patch meant to fix some of these problems, but I had to mention it because even though the situation is slowly improving, I think it is still important to make a note of this situation. The game is also lacking in servers located in Australia, which is a problem for the players from that region who would like to participate and enjoy the game. I also think that World War III would honestly benefit a lot from the rental server program and the server browser. An option to purchase and host third-party community servers would allow the game to thrive once it's going to reach its official release. If done right, it would also give the players control over the quality of the servers, which would be a win-win for everybody. Is it going to happen? To be honest, I kinda doubt it, but it would be awesome if it did. One last thing that I want to mention is the MyGames DRM platform. The game itself requires to be downloaded and launched from the said platform, which essentially can prevent a lot of people from being able to file for a refund in case they would like to get one, if they don't like the experience that the beta provides. Obviously, it is not going to be an issue in the future once the game is going to transition into the free-to-play model, but it is a pretty shady situation that I don't want to omit here because I think it is important. There is also no integration with Steamworks in the game, meaning that your game time does not count towards your statistics on Steam. It might matter to some people, it might not to the others, but once again, I think it is important to take a note of this. This is it for now. It might be quite a bit to chew on, but to be honest, it seems like the developers are listening to the feedback and are not just sitting around. They have issued some statements and provided the community with a lot of updates over the past 2 weeks, which to me makes it clear that they are really set out to keep improving the game and polishing it until perfection. It might be some time before we reach that point, but even with that, the game has a really solid foundation that is a lot of fun, so if they are going to keep moving in that direction, then I think World War III is going to make a full comeback and find its own fan base for the years to come. This is it for today. Thank you for watching, I hope that you are having a good day, and I will see you around.